Okay.
All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. My name is Parker. Today we got a special episode on speaking to the universe with Lori here and also with Jared. Um, so today I was thinking for this episode we're going to dive into the topics on frequency and some universal laws like law of attraction. Um, Lori, I'd like to just kind of get your opinion on that. Like,
Uh, yeah, I mean, it's a lot, right? It's a complex subject. I think what comes up for me with this stuff is when we talk about this stuff, laws of the universe, law of attraction, connection with the universe, people tend to like get siloed and get like dogmatic about it and sometimes a little bit culty about it. And I would say that the thing that I love most about working with vibration, with frequency, is that it's kind of like this guidepost that lets you figure out life for yourself with help, but it doesn't ask you to like, it's not a prescription, right? It's just like instructions for doing life the way, doing life right, whatever right means to you.
exactly.
I
I like.
like that.
Do, do,
Um, for
do you feel
me,
like?
sorry, Parker, you go.
Oh
I was
yeah, no.
gonna
Okay, I'll go quick. Do you feel like is that there's a difference between vibration and frequency when we're talking about terms of spirituality and that type of and that
Well,
type
they're kind of
of
related. I mean, like pattern, sound, vibration, frequency, they're kind of all the same thing, but like frequency is how is a measurement of vibration. So it tells you like basically how fast or how slow something is vibrating, and then we call that its frequency.
Okay, all right. Jody can go. Sorry.
So, yeah, kind of for me, I focus a lot on the mental health side of things. So, I feel like there is a lot of frequencies. We have positive and negative energy that we deal with on a daily, whether it's at work or, even at home or just sometimes being alone and isolated. We have all these frequencies that we deal with. I went to the gym today. I had a different frequency. I was in the mode of, you know, trying to regulate some of the negative energy that was going on in my life. So I feel like we used certain platforms or things to grow from. And that's kind of how I think frequencies, through the brain and the mind and everything. So,
No, that's
Yeah, what, go ahead.
oh no, you can go ahead. You can go ahead.
Yeah, no, I like that. I mean, it's important. When I am teaching people about like frequency or vibration, I say think of your whole being, meaning your like physical body and your like energy body or spiritual body or ethereal body or whatever subtle body is used a lot in this term, subtle energy body. Think of
Right.
that as the instrument, right? And you're going to play that instrument differently depending on what you want to produce. And you want to make sure the instrument is in really good working order, which is what you guys were kind of alluding to in your last episode. yeah, Um, and you want to make sure it's tuned, right? And so, yeah, you can be playing fast, playing slow sometimes, playing something more energetic, playing something more slow. And the idea is that we get to a place where our frequency just naturally is A, more regulated. So it's like more us, right? It's our own sort of instrument.
Right.
And B, that it ebbs and flows so that we don't have to work so hard when we go into those spaces that, we've all been there. You go into a space and you're like, you can feel it's like super low, super hard energy, and you just want to leave. Like the idea is, how can we get it to where we don't have to even think about it? Our own vibration just starts responding.
Right, right. I think emotions play a big factor with that, like kind of just not holding in that energy, letting it out sometimes, screaming into a pillow could be like like a nice remedy. I know for me that's been kind of a remedy for me, like trying to get these frequencies to kind of like regulate correctly, because my brain's not always working correctly. But Parker, what's your thoughts on what she said?
Well, and I think it's great, and I think over time when we raise our frequency, And we try to shift from like, I guess you would call third density consciousness to fourth density consciousness, or whatever you'd like to call it. Um, I think that what I think that there's kind of almost like an actual practice that kind of needs to be that you kind of have to take steps to where you kind of can start to shift to that higher consciousness, and then I think it starts to just feel effortless. Do you kind of think the same way, Lori?
Yeah, I mean, I can say for me for sure. I mean, my whole journey with this stuff started like 12 years ago when I just started meditating because I was super stressed out and I had ADHD, like insane ADHD. And there was a lot of good research that said like meditation would fix your physical body, fix your mind, fix everything. And it did. But then I came into, this other knowing. And yeah, it's yeah, there's, I made these correlations between like the chakras and the dimensions of consciousness, and you can use those. You don't have to subscribe to like Hindu philosophy or Buddhist philosophy to take this ancient wisdom and go, if life is a game and there's like 7 basic levels, right, of consciousness, and there's these instructions that say if you do these certain things or you can accomplish these certain tasks, almost like you are playing a game, you're going to master that level of consciousness and you're going to get to level up. And as you do that, your life gets better and better. And for my philosophy, as we do that, as we lean into it from a true self perspective, this is who I am.
Right.
It just naturally benefits the whole.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like if you can be real with yourself, we use social media every day, and I think that can bring off so much negative frequencies. But if you're being real and focusing kind of like on what you believe in and pushing that instead of like, watching these things that are negative, like for instance, there's so much stuff on TikTok, we're scrolling all day, but a lot of the time we're just watching a lot of garbage. Uh, I like what you do with your channel. Like I was watching a little bit of it the other day, and I just really like how you teach. Like you don't just focus on like frequencies in the mind and the body, but you also stand behind a lot of what me and Parker stand behind, which is mental health, a little bit of spirituality and stuff like that. I think all this stuff plays a factor, but really just being real with yourself, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I think a lot of those problems that we have, struggles and stuff that gives us negative frequency could seriously just be our chakras being blocked. And I'm a big fan of doing, I don't know, I was telling Jared this, I'm a big fan of doing Kundalini yoga every
Yeah.
week just to try to help kind of balance out some of those chakras and stuff. Because sometimes when we sometimes we have those uncontrollable emotions that we just, or feelings or thoughts that we just feel like we can't clear, can't get rid of.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, you guys both make a good point. Like there's plenty of evidence. It's widely accepted, even the material scientific community, that we're vibrating, right? Like,
Right.
so
Right.
our thoughts have vibration. And if you just, that sounds very spiritual, and it could be spiritual, or, this notion of consciousness, but also your brain fires differently. Your neurons talk differently when you're thinking about different things, right? So everything really does have a vibration. Our physical body, there's these correlates to our brain, like the solar plexus chakra is heavily correlated with the conscious mind. The sacral chakra is heavily correlated with our unconscious mind. And so we can use this. I mean, it's really, vibration and frequency is truly holistic. It's not just to like, have a spiritual experience or a really good trip or whatever, like
Yeah.
it's supposed to be um to be holistically well,
Right.
mind, body, spirit.
Yeah, and I think we learn this every day as we go. Like, we obviously fall victim to,
that negativity that we do build, but like for me, I think you can use negativity as a remedy. Like people get confused with just the way that, we're not programmed, you know what I mean? Like that's why I like I'm bipolar, so I'm kind of similar to with your ADHD, like I had that, and then it ended up turning into bipolar because I really didn't take care of myself. I like was able to overcome one thing, and then I still have that, you know what I mean? But then it goes, and I think too, ADHD is kind of the next com block to, bipolar disorder if you don't really get yourself together in the right direction. So in time, I was able to, I use my music as a remedy. I use, there's so many things that I have to use other than just this prescription that I rely on. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I mean, I should say too, I don't have ADHD anymore.
you,
Like that's
yeah,
meditation it rewires your brain. It's no joke. Like if you
right,
really have time to do it. Um,
yeah,
but when you're talking about like, yeah, when I got screened for ADHD, they screened me for bipolar too, because they are closely related. Um,
right,
and this heightened spiritual awareness also has most of the same symptoms as schizophrenia, right? So all of these
yeah,
things, they sort of, we take everything with a grain of salt. The idea is like get back to feeling like yourself, whatever that feels like, and get back to enjoying life. And if it's whether a chakra is, I've been doing this for a really long time. So if it's blocked, if it's got a tear in it, there's so many different things that could be going on, all of which though can be fixed on your own just by spending some time with yourself, by doing a visualization. Doesn't have to even be a whole big deal. It takes time, just like if you wanted to, compete in the Olympics, you wouldn't decide today and go to the Olympics. You'd have years and years of training your mental and physical body. And it's the same way with, frequency. And I think sometimes people want like an immediate result, right? We will want instant gratification. I raised my
yeah,
frequency today. Well, it's going to go back down, like you said, if you're scrolling TikTok and there's a bunch of, stuff on there that's going to bring it down. So,
yeah. What's your thoughts on that, Parker? I mean, with social media and how your frequencies are with dealing with negative energy, I guess.
Well, my thoughts on that would be that I think it's for some of the addictions, because I would say that, scrolling on your phone all day or sitting around or being lazy or something like that can be a cause of maybe like a chakra blockage, or maybe even um just it also kind of could just be that your frequency could be feeling low. And I think when it's I think when it becomes like an addiction, I think that it takes a little bit of willpower to kind of help ascend to a higher consciousness, kind of break out of those bad habits that we do have. And I think for me personally, one of the best books that I think that gets people on like a good spiritual path is just the book Law of Attraction, because I think people are able to recognize that they have creative power, and that their thoughts, feelings, and reactions to the flow of life um, create their reality. People will start to. I think when people start to understand that, then I think that that gives them a lot of motivation, willpower, and helps them recognize their true selves.
I like that. Laura, if you want to elaborate a little bit more on that.
yeah, I like that. I mean, in the end, like it's all a story, right? I think he's like an evolutionary biologist, maybe. I'm not sure, but his name's Donald Hoffman. And he like proves this, mathematically proves this theory that like everything we see and perceive is a complete illusion. And it's just driving us, right? That's what it's driving us to reproduce and stay alive. We see the stuff, we perceive the stuff we need to perceive. in order to stay alive and reproduce. And so it's like, if everything's made up, why can't we make up stuff that works for us instead of getting fed the stuff that tells us like everything in the world is wrong and all that stuff? But yeah, I love the law of attraction. And, there's starting to be like, again, with this kind of thing, with like perception, just sort of us seeing what we need to see. And there's like, now we're starting to see neuroscience behind manifestation, like showing how we really do draw in what we want. Like science, to me isn't the end all be all, but it's starting to catch up with a lot of this wisdom that's like 5,000 years old or less. But yeah, this stuff is, to me, the bottom line is, does it work? Does it have benefits in your life? What does real mean? If it works for me and my life got better because I did it, that's real enough for me. And I don't need any expert to tell me like anything other than that, anything different, really. I don't care. It worked for me.
Yeah, I like that. I think for me, like with the music, like I was able to use it as a therapeutic thing, but not just for myself. I was able to reach people who might be battling the same thing. A lot of the topics I speak on are depression, addiction, and then also sometimes it's spiritual. I might have an issue with God. Sometimes I do blame God, which I'm working on. I'm trying to kind of use a positive mindset to just stand behind what's real, what I believe in. And if I can teach like mental health, I think that's my frequency to the earth. Like that's what I have to offer through my brain and how it works. So Parker, why do you do what you do? I mean, what you stand behind?
Well, I mean, I would say I'm maybe still on that path of finding my passion. But I think probably the biggest realization that within the past year was being able to recognize the beliefs that our ego has about ourselves, which could be the belief that, you know what, I'm really lacking something. I need this to make me happy, which is kind of the concept of outcome happiness, or just other types of beliefs of the ego that our ego has about ourselves. But that's the main one that I think I needed to transcend, or just the thoughts that ego tells us, right? That, we're not good enough, or why did you do that, or just feeling guilt. I realized I used to think that feeling guilty was a good reaction and stuff, but I realized that it's actually just one of the things that's just a part of our ego.
I like
Yeah,
that. Sorry, you go, Laura.
That's yeah, I mean, the ego, like what you're talking about when your ego is like telling you lies, like because I've been doing this a long time, the ego to me is like the archetype of the devil. If you look at the Bible stories where there's like a devil or Satan, like that's the ego to me, because it is that trickster energy. But like that's an imbalance in that solar plexus where that ego lives, because we need our ego, right? It like keeps us out of danger, but it doesn't need to be in charge. And so those little things, just about like, well, what could I do to balance that out so that, yeah. But, and even I like that you're talking about like what kind of your pain points were. Like for me, the way my ego presented was like a really hard need for validation about like being smart and not just being like a silly girl, because that's how I felt growing up. Like you just should be pretty. That's all girls are for. You shouldn't get an education. You don't need to be smart, whatever. So I had to work through a lot of that. And that I'm babbling on to say that sometimes when we think about raising your frequency, we think about like it has to mean you're happy all the time, but it doesn't mean that. Like you talk about real serious things, as you've just said, but because you're doing that and you're moving through them and you're being aligned with like some sense of a higher purpose, that's actually calibrating, right? That's tuning your instrument. That's actually bringing you into a higher frequency and moving through those things, the action and the willpower of saying, these are the things that I know I shouldn't be thinking, doing, whatever, and moving through them, it can be hard and be raising your vibration at the same time.
Yeah, I agree with that. Even for me, ego is something I need to work on. I use my bipolar disorder sometimes as like this thing, like this con block that I can get away with certain things. And, every day is obviously a learning thing for me. Understanding that I can't blame others. I have to take full responsibility in certain circumstances. And honestly, all this is growth. Every day we wake up and it's like we learn something new every day. We know one thing though is we can't get time back in life. So if we dwell on these things, and it's going to mess with those frequencies that we have in our brain. Sometimes we just have to kind of go on with life, and then maybe later on we realize, oh, maybe I should have did something differently in that situation. But it's all learning. That's really how we control our frequencies, I think, in life as we go forward.
Yeah, no, I think we're all kind of born in this world with some of us may be born with more karma than others, and some of us may feel like we experience life in a more negative way than others. Um, but I think personally, I think that we all have to kind of recognize that we need to shift our frequency from sort of playing the victim and um, keeping that same mentality throughout life. I think we need to somehow figure out how to shift that more to realizing that becoming the creator, as you could call it, instead of being the victim, being the creator of your reality. Lori, what's kind of your thoughts on how to kind of, or I guess I should say, how can one maybe start shifting from being a victim to recognizing that they're actually the creator and to start playing the creator?
Yeah, I mean, that's always hard, right? When someone's going through something really difficult, you can't go up and tell them, like, well, you're causing all of this, right? Like,
Right.
that's not going to
It
be,
shows that experience. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But, I think looking at that, like, when you're just to think about it practically, when you're in victim mentality, and trust me, I was there a lot of times. I was a single parent. My daughter's father did terrible things. He ended up in prison for a violent crime. I had to raise her on my own without any support at all, right? There was a good portion of my life that I was hardwired for victim mentality because that stuff happened to me. But when you look at it practically, when you're talking about being a victim, you're focusing on the problem, solely on the problem. And not until you move out of victim mode and you start looking at a solution. So when you just start thinking about a solution, even if you went to yourself, it's true, I'm great, and all these people who did this to me are terrible, but still, what can I do to make this better for me since I know nobody else is here? That automatically starts moving you out of victim mentality, and it starts changing your frequency and getting you more attuned even when you're just thinking about it. And that's the other thing. Be gentle with yourself. Give yourself grace, because if when we try to go hard, especially some of this deep healing, we end up like taking 2 steps forward and 10 steps back. It goes as fast as it goes, being gentle and setting really small goals for yourself and writing them down is a really great way, not only to, and I mean simple goals, like it could be drink enough water today and crossing it down. This boosts serotonin, it moves you away from this need for the dopamine, and it starts really getting you in touch with that higher version of yourself. It's a great way, it's like a pathway to that higher version of yourself that can tell you, hey, it's terrible what you went through, but we can't sit here anymore because we've done this and it hasn't worked.
Right. I agree with you on this. Living in your traumas, and letting them digress into time as you go. sometimes you have to, forgive. You can't play victim forever. I think that's the thing is we all play victim in some mentality, whether it's in relationships or a friendship, or I didn't like the way you said that, but communication plays a big factor. It takes two people to make something work, right? Just kind of going back off of some of the experiences that I've dealt with or have been dealing with, you just have to you sometimes just have to elaborate to the person like, hey, this is how I'm feeling, and we can move on in this direction or we can go this direction. There's just so many things that could come into this factor for you to grow and get your frequencies not so off balance, but you're not playing victim. You're literally, maybe I'm the victim. You know what I mean? Like it could go both ways. Sometimes you have to own up to your mistakes and be responsible. I think. Your take, Parker.
Yeah, no, I think with a lot of our past traumas, I could say that, I don't know if there's actually like a way for us to just fully forget about it. Like I don't know if one day we could just say, I don't even remember it. I don't know if we can fully forget it. And I think what we're asked to do is to just kind of forgive the traumas, heal the traumas. And that can maybe look by, meeting it with love and forgiveness and compassion and having compassion for yourself. Um, but it's kind of interesting because it's like one day you could wake up and you could feel like you've already forgiven your past traumas and stuff like that, and the next day it comes back up again and you have anger that you feel towards it, or towards any type of past trauma. But Lauren, what's kind of your take on that?
I mean, it's normal. Our brains are complex. Our brains are so complex that even these really, really smart people who do nothing but study the brain we're not even close to understanding how they work. We now know that there's these little neurons in our skin that are helping us feel out what's going on out, different than our brain, right? So the way, yeah, that's all to say that it's normal. Like, and I think just being okay, like having the understanding, not having the expectation that it's a straight path, because it's not. And there's all kinds of things that could be affecting. I mean, you don't have to start here by really tuning in, but what you ate, what you listen to before you go to bed, some ad that you heard, that was implanted in your brain in an unconscious way. So many things can affect that. A trigger, a person you see, and just it's like, I don't know, for me, because it took me years. Like finally, I'm in a place where sometimes I'm like, I can't even believe that was my life. Like it doesn't even feel like it's my life. But I just got to a place where I just was grateful for those days, and I would make sure when I had a day that I wasn't really brought back in there, that I would express gratitude, and to my body for holding up, to my mind for holding up, to the universe, my spirit, whatever. You got to just take it as it comes and know that it's not a straight line.
I like that. I feel that's the thing. We need to pat ourselves on the back sometimes if because we let our traumas sometimes just hold everything that we have. Like, I focusing on this emotional side of, well-being, being able to just understand that, hey, I'm not perfect. And, it's the same thing as when you like a man looks at a woman and a woman looks at a man. We just learn that we're two different beings, but I bleed and you bleed, and at the end of the day we're all the same.
All one.
It's like equality. Really, at the end of the day, we have to understand that we aren't perfect, and this is just a learning experience on earth that we have to go through to you know, understand ourselves a little bit better, and make rights, from our wrongs.
No, true. And I think too with when it comes back to frequency and stuff too, I think a big part of it is that a lot of us we don't stay present. Constantly have this but you'd call it like the monkey mind that's always just rambling on, and and of course there's always going to be painful thoughts that keep coming up and stuff like that. But I think it intensifies the less that we actually stay present. I think that we need to um, stay present more, and also um, learn how to live more from our heart chakra. And Laura, are you kind of familiar with kind of on ways to like what would like living from the heart look like to you? Or what does it feel like? Or how does one maybe start doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people have one or two problems. A lot of people who identify as like an empathetic person, or they call themselves empath or highly sensitive, they're really in the heart like way too much. And then there's the other people who are like have closed it off. Um, but this is the center of our humanity, really, is the heart. It's where we're kind of the human person and the spiritual being in the same space. Easy ways to live from the heart: share something. When we say be vulnerable, doesn't mean like tell everyone your deepest, darkest secret. It just means say something to someone that you wouldn't normally say. Share something that makes you a little bit uncomfortable. Trying to be in a place of grace and forgiveness for yourself and other people. Um, those small things, practicing gratitude, all of those things, this is how we connect. And, there's a very large body of scientific evidence that says when we're not connected with each other, when we're not open and vulnerable and trusting of each other, that everything goes downhill. Our mental, physical health, our physical bodies deteriorate when we're not connecting with each other from that heart space.
I really like that. I that's that's some strong words that me and Parker are definitely going to take with us, and I think that's a we got a lot to learn, as men. Me and Parker always are talking about our ego and how sometimes it gets the best of us. So, Parker, how much time do we have left on the thing? I just want to make sure it doesn't
We
cut
got
off.
about 5 minutes and 20 seconds. But I think, yeah, we have about
Well,
5 minutes, 20 seconds.
I'll do my closing part because we only have 5 minutes left. So, for me, I think stick true to yourself. Be real. Uh, Stop being fake. You know when you're being fake. So, if there's negative people around you that are making you fake, just turn away from them. Honestly, the only way to learn is to get yourself in check and grow from there. You got to remember, you have to love yourself before you can love someone else. So that's my closing. Your turn, Parker.
No, I think that that's great. I think I think before you can't, I feel like you can't be of service to others or help others unless you're fully healed self and you're into positive, you're into positive relationship with everything in life. But actually, I have time just to ask one more question for Lori. And that kind of is the what is kind of the universal reason why maybe behind desire.
Oh, well, I mean, it depends. Like there's desire, like passion, and then there's desire, like if you're talking about an almost unquenchable type of desire, that's usually has to do with attachment. So usually desire would start in the sacral chakra, and if you can't kind of kick it, that means that the ego's involved and probably the heart chakra is not involved enough. I think attachment, detachment, if you had sort of like one of a handful of things that would cause almost every problem, attachment is one of those things. Because it's great to have desire. But when it starts being the boss of you, and when you start having attachment to the outcome of that desire, that's when things kind of go wrong.
No, I agree, and I think that that's kind of one of the reasons why a lot of us maybe don't stay present because we're always worried about what our future is going to look like. We don't take things one day at a time. We look at it from next month, am I going to be able to pay my bills or afford food or whatever it may be. Yeah, no, I think that was my final question. But I'd say that my closing statement, what it would be to raise frequency, is I would probably recommend to people is just being aware of the thoughts that we have about ourselves and about others, and also question our thoughts that come up into our mind, and question if it's really our ego or if it's really something that comes from our heart. Maybe even asking ourselves, how would my heart respond to this matter at hand? And I think that for me, that's it. Lori, do you have a closing statement?
I just will say, don't discount the value of just doing the stuff that lights you up, which is the stuff that yourself, your soul self, your higher self wants. Just like you're saying, like, it's easy to say, just be yourself, but truly the stuff that makes you light up, that's your barometer for if life is going well or not. And so people like discount that. I think there is so much value. You wouldn't have to learn anything at all about anything we're talking about if you just said, what is the stuff I love? Who am I? How can I do more of that stuff? And how can I be more of who I am? You would continually progress, ascend, whatever word you want it, and move to happiness. It's an easy thing to say and it's an easy thing to discount, but it is so important, especially right now, because things are going to get wilder. If we think things are wild now, wait until 2026.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully 2026 is good, and I don't know, 2025, and yeah, but this is our closing. I'm Jared.
I'm Parker.
I'm Lori.
All right.
We're out. We're out,
Bye-bye.
guys.